Hey, what's up everybody, it's Proftrof, we're back again on another Gigguk video. Let's get it, this is bad CG in anime. Let's check it out.
Everybody run! It's coming! It's coming! We're being attacked by bad CG! In the past,
no. That's edited.
We're being attacked by bad CG!
No. I mean, kind of looking at his face, I can kind of believe that. Her face doesn't look that bad. It looks horrified. What?
In the past, anime and CG have not had...
That looks like a persona.
By bad CG! In the past, anime and CG have not had the best public relationship. The general reaction from someone when they hear the mere mention of CG being integrated into their favorite anime is that they pack up and start running a fucking mile like they've just found out we're getting invaded by Nazis.
Pain.
Or even more horrifyingly, CG Nazis. But today I wanted to evaluate if CG really deserves its reputation within the anime community. What are some examples of it being used well and badly, and what are some of the different ways that CG have been integrated into anime? So first, we need to answer the question, what is bad CG? And here's the catch.
Just show Berserk.
You aren't allowed to use any word that rhymes with Shishmirk 2017. Well, if we look at the dictionary definition of bad CG, we can quite clearly see that, oh for fuck's sake! I'm sure we can all agree that it is CGI effects that is noticeable enough to take you out of your immersion and break your suspension of disbelief. And place objects...
As a Berserk fan, these videos hurt my soul. This is pain pickle.
Some stupid looking expression. A lot of things can take you out of an experience, but that's the thing to keep in mind. Bad CG is bad CG because you notice bad CG. Bad CG. Sorry, I just wanted to say
bad CG
one more time. I think a good place to start is just seeing how the general use and look of CG has evolved over time. We normally associate CG with more modern age anime, but CG effects have been around for a lot longer than people think, and over time has gotten better at blending in objects. If you look at most modern anime carefully, you'd be hard pressed to find one that doesn't incorporate some sort of computer rendered object in it, and a lot of the time you don't notice because it's not something that significant. There's been a lot of debate over how CG has changed the general look of mechs over the years, and honestly I think it comes down to how bland and forgettable modern mechs feel. Oof. They all move the same, they all feel the same, with the same clunky video game style that never looks quite as natural as hand-drawn mechs. Nothing becomes as memorable even if you have a cool design. I mean fuck! Chamber from Suicide no Gargantia had the thighs of a seasoned Las Vegas pole dancer, and this was never appreciated enough.
Damn boy, he's thick! Boy, that's a thick ass boy!
Whether it be to speed up the production time or make up for a lack of talent who can animate mechs well, it feels like CG mechs are used as a compensation tool rather than a deliberate creative decision, because when done correctly, they look just as fantastic. The sequences of the unicorn transforming look fucking amazing, and the reason they do this is because they're done in CG.
Isn't this the one they actually had like build a statue in Japan of?
Trying to animate this level of complicated mechanical panel movement would be absurdly difficult by hand, and they managed to make it not look like an in-engine video game cutscene. However, one thing that the industry is still figuring out how to do correctly is with characters, and it doesn't matter if they are in the foreground or the background. There's an old Chinese proverb that goes, life is like a crosswalk, full of opportunity in every direction. Unless that crosswalk contains a CG anime crowd, in which case you're probably burning in hell. Yes, CGI
doesn't look that bad.
One thing I think I
don't know, maybe I've played too much Persona 5, but that did not look that bad to me.
Look like complete shit. Nothing's more distracting than when there's something important going on, but your brain is unable to focus on anything but the same 5 PlayStation 2 motherfuckers hanging out in the background trying horrendously bad to blend in. Oi mate! Why does your face look like bad CG? Why does everyone look like bad CG? Am I in a bad CG nightmare right now? And I really did try finding a good example of anime CGI crowds, so if anyone does have any good examples, then please contact me at CGI crowds that don't make my eyes want to commit suicide at gmail.com. But this extends to foreground characters, where you have to battle against this weird uncanny valley effect, where characters kinda look anime, but not anime enough, so when they're just there,
he looks bad, I don't know what that is, but damn, look at this boy's face. You cannot tell me that looks natural. Like this at least looks like it's at the right spot.
Uncanny valley.
Look at this motherfucker's face.
Look anime, but not anime
looks
enough.
Like,
so when they're just there, front and center, with no attempt to blend it in, your brain has time to process what you're watching. So you kind of notice. Wait a minute.
What the hell is wrong with her face?
Brain has time to process what you're watching, so you kind of notice. Wait a minute. These are the same guys they hired to do the Mass Effect Andromeda facial animations.
At least the facial at least the faces looked realistic in Andromeda.
Even when they look competent, when you are
Most
restricted
times.
to 3D models emulating a 2D art style, there is less freedom to work with when it comes to subtle expressions, nuanced character animation, and even the best examples we've had so far don't even come close to the best examples
Don't
in
show
2D
Berserk,
animation.
please.
Yet. Things are looking better, but the next problem is actually being able to blend these two elements. The issue you face when you blend 2D animation with 3D elements is the aesthetic clash. When we are watching an animated show, we know it is an animated show that does not exist within our universe, but we are fully
True.
invested in suspending our disbelief for that world. However, if you see two objects that blatantly look like they don't belong in the same universe, it works against that suspension of disbelief. Golden Kamuy is the latest example of this, where you have standard anime characters fighting that fucking bear from Far Cry 5 with a cel-shaded wolf in a background of green screen fire effects.
Wait, did the wolf just bite the bear on the mouth? Oh,
A
that's...
wolf in a background of green screen fire
Ha-
effects. The visual cohesion is an absolute
Is this
mess.
about to punch
and
a bear?
personally,
Did
I
you
much
punch the
prefer this
bear?
early leaked test footage, as
What
at
is
least
this?
It has a absolute
Is this
mess.
young
And personally, I much
Yujiro
prefer
Hanma
this early
training?
leaked test footage, as at least it has a
I've seen that
uniform
video
visual
before.
style, which, you know, it just makes the fights it's just far more believable. Oh look, an eagle! Different aesthetics only really work when the juxtaposition is purposefully part of the visual style, or when it's supposed to happen narratively. There are, however, effective ways to blend the two elements that we are seeing more often. When CG is limited to dynamic background environments, the fast-paced movement of the foreground animation is only enhanced,
Faith, baby.
allowing for more freedom of camera movements, which results in being able to do complex shots like this,
What the
without
fuck
giving
is
the
this?
viewer adequate time to notice the aesthetic clash. There are countless examples from Attack on Titan to Code Geass Akito the Exiled, even some of the more intricate shots from Monogatari.
Wait, that's what?
Fully
Code
entitled giving
Geass?
the viewer adequate time to notice the
Geass?
aesthetic clash. There are countless examples from Attack on Titan to Code Geass Akito the
have a
Exiled,
new
even
one?
some of the more intricate shots from Monogatari which fully take advantage of this, or with other shows that had some shots that were rotoscoped with the aid of CG tools. The important thing is that the CG is never the main focus, or is rendered in such a way that it naturally fits in with the visual
Unlimited
style of
Blade
the show.
Works.
In this sense, Ufotable are the fucking gods at this. Throughout the years, they have perfected the art of digital composition and blending traditional animation with computer-aided effects to the point where you can hardly tell the difference. My first exposure to them was their first take on the Fate franchise, and no,
Wait, I was about to say, their first take on the Fate.
no, not you.
No.
Fuck out. And at the time, it
Yeah, let's
blew me
pretend
away.
that doesn't
I
exist,
thought
please.
anime couldn't look better than this. But then they came back with Unlimited Blade Works, and no, not fucking you! And have continually improved and pushed the
That wasn't
boundaries
that
so
bad.
much so that they have crafted a unique visual style which is instantly recognizable. And no one really calls this CG anime, despite how much they use it. But moving on,
Wait, what is the
different
CG in
problems
this?
with blending 2D and
That's the problem, when you get like good
Much so
CG, you
that
can't
they
really
have-
tell it's CG. Which I guess it's good, but what is the CG in
crafted
this?
a unique visual style which is instantly recognizable, and no one really calls this CG anime despite how much they use it. But moving on, a different problem from blending 2D and 3D is when you are completely switching between the two. Let me set the scene. You're enjoying a classic show, it looks awesome, the characters look great, and we're just about to get to the heart-pumping action scene. Then without any warning, it cuts to the action, and you notice something's a bit off about the way the show looks.
What, you mean the fact that there is like 10 pixels on the screen now?
And then just as you get used to it, it switches back to before and you're like, okay, maybe my eyes were being funny. Then you begin to look really closely and slowly you realize that maybe there is something different about the way the show looks.
What the fuck is
Switching from
that?
2D to 3D to 2D again is a guaranteed method to make the viewer feel a sense of visual whiplash, and this to me is right up there with CG crowds for anime things that fucking keep me up at night. The most recent offenders I can think of are with Inuyashiki and the Berserk movie trilogy, and the thing is, the CG sometimes doesn't even look bad. I wouldn't even mind if some of these shows were
Wait.
fully 3D, it's just a no.
Wait, the Berserk... Those were not bad, those were like the...
Shut the fuck up! It's just the constant switching between visual styles that break any kind of immersion you could be having.
And I would prefer it so much if they just chose one style and committed to it.
I mean, we've all heard of jazz hands, but have you tried the hottest trend? Bad CG piano hands? What people don't normally talk about, however, is that the switch can be done well if we stick to some of the same rules we talked about. Kill la Kill is a good example. If I tell you Kill la Kill used a lot of CG, your mind will
Where?
probably go back to that one time Satsuki was apparently ice skating vertically up a building, which, how can I eloquently put this? It looks shit.
It was
But
a
what you
meme.
probably
Shut
don't
up.
know is just
It
how
was a
many
meme. Shut the fuck up. It was a meme.
eloquently put this.
I love this anime.
It looks shit.
No,
but what you
it was a
probably
meme.
don't know is just how many cuts were completely CG, like this shot, or this shot, or this
Wait,
entire
what?
sequence, where they built an entirely new 3D model just to accentuate these few frames. And unless you are flicking through frame by frame and know exactly what to look for, you won't even notice, exactly because it was disguised so well as opposed to being lauded front and center. But that leads into the big daddy. Fully 3D anime. If there was a final boss for the anime industry, this would be it. And for most of the time so far, anime has handled it about as well as a Facebook surfing Candy Crush addicted grandma attempting a no-hits run on Dark Souls. The problem a lot of us had with early CG anime was that they seemingly came in with the approach of trying to emulate the 2D art style with a completely different tool. And it doesn't take a genius to tell you that if you aren't using your tools correctly, it probably won't go well. Movement felt restricted and robotic. Characters just weren't as expressive. The frame rate sometimes looked really dodgy as they purposely restricted it. Something even one guy who helped make silly internet videos figured out was a dumb fuck idea before an entire industry did. They didn't play to their strengths, but despite this, as time went on, things began improving. Acceptable shows started appearing. We slowly started to accept that maybe there could be a space for CG
Hey, Gantz was
anime.
decent.
And just as
I
we
like that
thought
one.
things were starting to look up,
Gantz move was
Berserk
cool.
2016 came crash landing into the scene.
Oh, fuck.
But it's okay! Thanks to the collective effort of every half-decent CG anime to come out, we managed to stop this from ruining everything. Quick! Polygon Pictures!
Wait,
release
you're
some
counting the Final Fantasy as a anime CG thing?
anime to come out, we managed to stop
I mean,
this
fair enough, I watched this. This was not bad. The Final Fantasy 15 King's Glaive thing.
from ruining
It was
everything.
not bad.
Quick! Polygon Pictures, release something half-decent and maybe we can get out of this.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Kimono Friends, Nobunaga Concierto, Kado. These were fully 3D shows that managed to be enjoyable, but the problem is I feel these shows were enjoyable in spite of its CG, not because of it. Over the years, Polygon Pictures have tried their damned hardest to make a case for fully 3D anime and continually improves with every project they work on. But to me, it's the same problem. There's nothing that makes me think I would rather see these shows using CG over traditional animation if given an aesthetic choice. That is, until we got the one show we were waiting for. Land of the Lustrous. A show like this was a long time coming, but despite how many opinions it changed about CG anime, it didn't really do anything new that we haven't already discussed. What it did do was understand what the strengths were for CG as a tool and play to those strengths. The CG crystal
Yo, that
effects
looked
and
crisp
metallic-
as fuck.
It didn't really do anything new that we haven't already discussed. What it did do was understand what the strengths were for CG as a tool and play to those strengths. The CG crystal effects and
Okay.
metallic textures gave the show a unique
Intrigued.
visual identity that wouldn't be as striking if it were in 2D, and the number of dynamic shots it was able to pull off in its action scenes, chase scenes, or just using long shots to build this claustrophobic tension is something that could only be achieved using CG. Hopefully by the end of this you can get the idea that despite the reputation CG in anime has right now, CG can look good and has looked good for years. Even if you're not a fan of the aesthetic scene in Polygon Pictures.
Yeah, that's the
first or-
problem, buddy. I'm a fan of Berserk, so CG pains my soul, brother. It hurts deep inside.
and of Lustrous, you've
It's
probably
left a
appreciated
permanent
it
mark.
even if you didn't know. But that's just it. It's a lose-lose situation because if CG does its job well, it won't even be noticed. But if it does fail, then it's forever
True, I
doomed
guess.
to have some shitty anime YouTuber cement it into meme history. Its failures are exposed and its successes are ignored, but it's important to note that whether it's good or bad largely depends on the understanding from the creator of the strengths and limitations of working with CG as a tool, as it is with every other medium. CG has become a standard part of anime nowadays, so if you're not a fan of that, then I can suggest that you watch older anime. Take the 80s for example. Computer effects may have started to become revolutionary in Hollywood, but anime was still untouched and pure. You know, back then they would
Pure.
never ruin their anime by rendering things using ugly PlayStation 1 graphics, because they were too busy rendering things with a fucking Atari 2600.
Wait, actually?
Oi, bruv! Why is your helicopter bad CG?
Bro.
your face bad CG?
They only have a face, brother.
life bad CG?
Damn. Thanks to unsee CJ crowd in every anime I watch now.
Hey guys,
Trying to
hope you
unsee.
enjoyed the video.
Ah.
Thank you very much this month too. Sun Fun Down, Me Team Lebanon, Big
Sun
Black
Fun
Paul
Down.
60, Sisters 10086, Elifal, Robert Heinborg, and everyone else on my Patreon for helping to support me for this month and making this video possible. As you can see, I've changed my location back again. I am back in America, and I will be attending AX in LA in just a few weeks. I have a very
when was
busy
this?
schedule, so if
Oh,
you're
this
going to
was
be
before the
attending
corona
AX as
shit.
well, keep an eye out for that, as I'll be posting that soon. Anyway, that's it from me today. Not too many updates, but until then, I've been Gigguk, and I will see you all
Gigguk.
next time.
Gigguk, same shit. Anyway, quick thank you to my YouTube members and patrons as well. I'll be streaming some more Darkest Dungeon later on today, so join me if you want to that. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye bye, everybody. Have a nice fucking day.